Translatentuls. Editor, Fish Creek. Chen Wanyun turned his head to look and saw a young lady in green striding towards Scholar's residence. Her attire was immaculate. Her beautiful hair was coiled up beneath a muslin net, with a golden sword hairpin pinned in. Yet she carried the dust and weariness of travel. She had clearly rushed back from another part of the country and should have only just disembarked from a ship. Behind her followed a stalwart man, towering to an astonishing height, twice that of an ordinary person, valorous and fierce, his entire body packed with savage muscle. This stalwart man bore the young lady's backpack, and as she walked towards Scholar's residence, he kept close at her heels. With that stalwart man behind her, Yue Qinghong continued forward. Paying no heed to the scholars who came to welcome her, her gaze settled straight onto Chen Wanyun as she approached him. When there were still 3 yards between them, Yue Qinghong halted, and the stalwart man behind her halted as well. "Big brother," Yue Qinghong greeted. Chen Wanyun returned her greeting. "Junior sister Yue, where have you been training?" Yue Qinghong smiled. "I've just returned from the battlefield of Wolfstore country. I heard Big Brother went to the battlefields to train?" Chen Wanyun nodded. "That's right. I went to the battlefield of Barbarian Dai Empire and fought a few barbarians. You've improved quite a bit." Yue Qinghong smiled. "You too. I'm worried I still can't beat you. Luckily I subdued a wolf slave at Wolfstore country. Wolf slave, come out to meet Big Brother." The stalwart man behind her slammed her luggage to the ground with a thud, then suddenly stretched out his hands to seize Chen Wanyun. His aura was unexpectedly fierce, like raging fire. With a single hand grabbing forward, the air instantly turned parched and even filled with sand and dust, making people feel as if a blazing sun was striking their faces head-on. On the exposed chest of the wolf slave, dragon wolf markings actually surfaced, and all the scholars trembled in fear. These dragon wolf markings were originally a mutation of one of the 4 great spirit bodies, called the Dragon Wolf Spirit Body, the totem of Wolfstore country. Chen Wanyun didn't even blink. He merely raised his palm to meet the wolf slave's huge hand. A single rumble sounded out. Chen Wanyun's clothes fluttered. The wolf slave's enormous body also swayed slightly, and his gaze toward Chen Wanyun changed. In a husky voice he said, "You're not weak." "You too," Chen Wanyun smiled. "Since junior sister Yue could subdue a wolf slave, it shows your power has grown rapidly." Suddenly, an ethereal voice laughed. "Senior sister Yue, Big Brother, you two are flattering each other again. When can both of you be modest and cool like me?" Another youth stepped forward. He had no hair on his head, looking like a monk in white Buddhist robes, yet there were no marks atop his head. "Junior brother Yun Kuei." Chen Wanyun greeted politely. This young monk should have been cultivating Buddhism, yet his temperament was clearly not that of a monk. He was exceedingly competitive and eager to fight. "I went to Li River, the place of the rebellion. After Li River sword sect was exterminated, the other sects there rebelled and stirred up trouble, so I had to follow the army to quell the rebellion. These few days I've had quite a considerable amount of experiences, and I would like to seek some advice from senior brother Chen and senior sister Yue." Yue Qinghong's gaze flickered. "Ever since we entered college, we've been fighting, and we've always been slightly weaker than Big Brother. Therefore, you are the big brother of our scholars' residence. However, after this training, I'm afraid there won't be any big brother in scholars' residence. There will only be a big sister." Chen Wanyun replied indifferently. "I killed barbarians at the border, and my power has become fiercer ever since. My murderous intent is too heavy, so I'm afraid of killing any of you when I attack. However, there's actually a ruthless person who just came to our scholars' residence. He is very fierce and tough. Most of the scholars in scholars' residence were beaten by him, so if any of you can defeat him, I will surrender the position of big brother readily." Yue Qinghong's eyes lit up. "No regrets?" Chen Wanyun smiled. "When did Chen Wanyun ever go back on the words I had said? This person is called Qinmu, and he wears embroidered clothes with a white fox at his side. Therefore, he is pretty easy to recognize. I met him as he was leaving the mountain, and he should be back soon." Yunke immediately sprang away, laughing loudly. "Little monk shall go enlighten this Qinmu. Senior sister Yu, don't fight with me. Let me enjoy being the big brother for a moment." Senior Sister Yu watched him go and sneered. This baldy acts like a high monk every day, yet he's the most impatient. If even Senior Brother Chen finds the person thorny, he definitely won't be easy to deal with. Senior Sister Q, all of you have been beaten by that Qin Mu? Senior Sister Q and the rest looked embarrassed. Yue Qinghong's gaze flickered, and she asked, "Can you tell me what kind of moves this Qin Mu used?" Her mind was meticulous. She questioned everyone about the moves Qin Mu used to beat them. After a moment, Yue Qinghong already had an idea and said this person used spells and palm skills, but he didn't use sword skill. He shouldn't have much attainment in sword skill. Q Ting immediately said, "Senior Sister, during the examination, he used a wooden sword to defeat Taoist Ling Yun from Hall of Pure Yang." Defeat Taoist Ling Yun? Yue Qinghong was startled and asked, "How many moves did he use?" "One move!" Yue Qinghong's heart trembled slightly, and she said, "It's not difficult to defeat Taoist Ling Yun in the same realm, and I can also do it. But to defeat Taoist Ling Yun in one move, that's impossible for me. He defeated all these junior brothers and sisters all in one move, with fists or spell. He could actually manage to be proficient in all three arts. Doesn't he have any weakness?" "No, he definitely has a weakness. Going to the battlefield of Wolfstore Country this time, I saw weaknesses even on seasoned seniors, much less a scholar who has just entered. I can take the chance to get to know the situation while Yun Kei challenges him." Setting down the luggage, she immediately brought her wolf slave and left. Qin Mu brought the little fox to a high-class restaurant in the capital city and ordered a table of delicacies. Eating heartily, Qin Mu, who seldom showed kindness, ordered a jar of fine wine for Hu Linge and drank 2 cups himself. Both of their stomachs bulged from eating. Hu Linge was still in a daze as she controlled her wind to float back to Imperial College with Qin Mu. After this little fox got drunk, she revealed her true self and simply lay on the demon wind without moving. Her front legs stretched straight out, her eyes stared forward without blinking, though her stomach was several rounds bigger. Qin Mu only drank 2 small cups. Therefore, he wasn't affected. On the way back, he took in the cultural and historical attractions of the capital city. The capital city was far more flourishing than other places, making people reluctant to leave. Both of them walked through the mountain gate. Qin Mu waved his hand in front of the little fox's face. He only saw Hu Linge's eyes still huge and round, yet a cat-like snoring sound came from her throat. It turned out she had fallen asleep from being drunk, yet she was still controlling her demon wind to float forward. Qin Mu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He lifted the white fox off her demon wind and hung her around his neck. Hu Linge's body slumped and curled around his neck. Her tail hung down Qin Mu's chest and her body wriggled twice to find a comfortable spot and continue sleeping. Alcohol tolerance is so bad, yet she still likes to drink. Qin Mu shook his head and continued up the mountain. Hu Linge was in deep sleep and only felt that sprawling on Qin Mu's neck was very comfortable. When he neared the broken cliff, Qin Mu suddenly slowed down. Hu Linge felt as if needles were growing out from Qin Mu's neck, pricking her, so she immediately turned around to change position, but the prickling sensation was still there. The little fox changed a few more positions, yet she still didn't feel comfortable. It was as if Qin Mu were turning into a huge porcupine. She squinted her sleepy eyes and stretched out her drowsy paws to touch Qin Mu's neck. She didn't find any long spikes, yet the spiking sensation truly remained. Could young master be showing his true form? The white fox was still bewildered when Qin Mu came to a stop. Only then did Hu Linge notice standing on the steep cliff before Qin Mu. The long white robe of a monk fluttered in the wind as he stood on the cliff looking toward them. "Qin Mu?" that monk in white asked. Qin Mu nodded. "Yes, you are?" The monk in white raised a palm before his chest. With a warm smile, he looked like a Buddha, and his ethereal voice sounded like the Buddha's voice. "You have been unruly and hard to tame, so Little Monk is specially here to enlighten you and subdue your unruliness. Show your weapon!" Qin Mu was puzzled and said, "Senior brother, you have yet to say your name." The monk in white had a face full of excitement. The Buddha-like appearance vanished without a trace. Leaping down from the cliff, he plunged headfirst to attack Qin Mu while smiling. When you're enlightened by me, you will naturally know my name." While his body was midair, a dragon roared and an elephant trumpet suddenly sounded out. Raising his head to look, Chinmu saw Buddha's rays shining brilliantly. A gigantic Buddha, coiled by a huge dragon, rode a white elephant and came crashing down. This was a vision created by the monk in White's vital chi. His vital chi was far denser than the other scholars and didn't yield much to Taoist Lingyun's. This kind of attack should be a fist skill mixed with incantations. Incantations were attacks targeted at the soul, while the coiling dragon and riding elephant fist skill was an attack targeted at the physical body. The two attacks gathered into one, forming the vision of a coiling dragon roaring and an elephant trumpeting while being ridden on. This strike, nearly a divine art, was enough to display this monk in White's superiority. Chinmu's spirit rose greatly, and he couldn't help feeling slightly excited. He had finally met an expert. From the time he came to the capital city, the scholars he met were all like Kuting. Even Directorate Taoist Lingyun was disgraced by just one sword from him, making it hard for him to fight to his content. This monk in white, who refused to say his name, was obviously very strong, stirring Chinmu's battle spirit. Ever since he stepped onto the lands of Eternal Peace Empire, he had tried to act civilized, and he was very tired of it. In his bones, he was still a person abandoned by gods who belonged to the barbaric lands of Great Ruins. As an abandoned person uncared for by gods, he was a fierce and tough being, one who dared to go down rivers to kill flood dragons and up mountains to capture strange beasts with a knife. Translator, Ninetails. Editor, Fish Creek. Chinmu threw back his head in a great laugh. His whole frame quivered, and with that single tremor he sent Hulinger flying away. He bent both knees, then sprang up like a drawn bow released, hands lifting toward the heavens as he faced that towering Buddha astride an elephant. A dragon coiled about it in majesty. Thunderclap 8 strikes, 6th form, thunder circling 10,000 Buddhas. Boom! In that instant, thunder detonated in midair. One figure shot up into the sky, while the other plunged down with savage speed. A crazed light flared in Chinmu's eyes as he raised his head and stared at the descending figure. The moment Yun Kuei touched down, thunder rumbled in his ears, and Chinmu's fists were already upon him. Each punch carried a peal of thunder that seized at a person's heart and soul. Dong, dong, dong! Chinmu's footfalls were ponderous as a great elephant stamping the earth. Every muscle in his body throbbed. He drove every sinew and every strand of flesh into motion, forcing his strength to its utmost peak. When their fists met, Yun Kuei's expression shifted slightly. He felt the opponent's vital chi like an endless sea, pressing down and crushing his own completely. He instantly altered his steps and retreated, defending in frantic haste against Chinmu's barrage. He could only feel that all his techniques, all his intricate and wondrous moves, had no chance to unfold. He could only use his fists to block his opponent's fists. There was absolutely no time, nor any possibility, to execute his moves and spells. Lotus Throne Mudra! Lotus Flower! Precious Body! Precious Flask Mudra! Yun Kuei shouted. Golden radiance burst around him. With a seal formed, a lotus throne appeared beneath his feet, and Sanskrit characters circled his body without cease. Those Sanskrit shaped themselves into a precious vase, allowing Yun Kuei to hide within the vase. Chinmu drove another punch, and the thunderclap exploded. Any golden bell, lotus throne, or precious flask all shattered to pieces. Yun Kuei's fists were already smashed and mangled, blood splattering onto his spotless white Buddhist robe. The bright red stains upon it looked like plum blossoms. Yet the plum blossoms quickly faded away. His white garments were likely a treasure as well, never staining and never soiling. Yun Kuei's arms went limp. He could almost no longer lift them. His movements slowed, and he knew this was bad. Chinmu then threw a punch straight into his face, smashing him into the jade wall of the cliff. He slid down and fainted. There are still experts in Imperial College. Chinmu felt delighted in both mind and body. It was only that he had not yet truly stretched his bones, and the white-robed monk had already been knocked senseless by him, leaving him regretful. Any monk who appears can take so many of my blows. Patriarch is right. The people in Imperial College are still brilliant. I can't discriminate against the people of Eternal Peace Empire. Young master, you're already done? Hu Linga had only just stabilized herself. Before she could even savor the spectacle, it had already ended, and she couldn't help feeling a little disappointed. She immediately went forward and began digging around Yunque's body, trying to find anything valuable. After a moment, the little fox grumbled angrily. "Poor monk! Linga, his clothes aren't bad, and should be worth quite some money." Chinmu prompted her kindly. Hu Linga stripped off the monk's robe. The garment truly remained untainted by a single speck of dust, and it could not be torn. The little fox was overjoyed. "This monk will definitely bring lots of money to exchange for these clothes. That's right, young master. What is his name?" Chinmu leaped up the jade cliff and continued towards Scholar's residence, shaking his head. "How would I know? I asked him earlier, but he didn't say. I think he was probably afraid to lose face after he lost. That monk has remarkable insight and knows himself well." Not far away, Yue Qinghong suppressed the shock in her heart and led her wolf slave over. Walking down the cliff to take a look, Yunque had lost consciousness and lay at the foot of the cliff, wearing only bloody white short pants. His white short pants were not as valuable as his Buddhist robe and were made from ordinary fabric. Yunque is so useless, he actually didn't even force out his full strength. However, this Chinmu is indeed very strong. "Wolf slave, how strong are you compared to him?" Yue Qinghong asked. Radiance burst from the wolf slave's eyes as he rolled his tongue. "I have my magic knife skills, the slaughtering knife of the battlefield, which can force out his full strength. However, I can only last 10 moves. I'll definitely lose after 10 moves." Yue Qinghong's eyes lit up. "You go." The wolf slave bowed and obeyed. His hands reached behind his back. With 2 ringing swings, the paired curved knives overlapping there were drawn from their sheaths. These 2 pitch-black blades had not the slightest impurity, as though forged from the blackest metal. Moreover, these 2 curved, narrow knives were 3 yards long. The wolf slave advanced in quick steps, faster and faster. Suddenly he spread his hands, and his vital chi threads shot out. Using chi to control his blades, he sent the 2 magic knives flying silently through the air, slashing toward Chinmu. When the 2 magic knives were about to cut down upon Chinmu's body, their light suddenly erupted. One blade hugged the floor and sliced horizontally, while the other swept horizontally toward his waist. Chinmu seemed to have eyes on the back of his head. His body instantly became extraordinarily strange, like a flat fish. With 1 foot, he stepped onto the magic knife rising from below, and with his other leg, he kicked the magic knife descending from above. It was hard to imagine how a human body could bend into such a position. The upper magic knife was kicked away, and the lower magic knife was stamped by Chinmu into the mountain rock. The wolf slave was startled, and saw Chinmu rush toward him like a phantom. The wolf slave's vital chi trembled. The 2 magic knives whistled back. Black light circled up and down around Chinmu. The wolf slave executed the magic knife skills of Wolfstore country with brilliant precision, yet not a single blade landed on Chinmu's body. He dodged them by the breadth of a hair. This knife skill was no ordinary technique. It was the slaughtering art of the battlefield. It had no flashy postures and only one purpose: to kill. Even such vicious sharpness could not touch Chinmu's body. However, pressed by the knife lights, Chinmu also could not advance. Not only could he not advance, he had to retreat without pause. Chinmu's retreat looked like a green dragon slipping and winding. The wolf slave's pupils suddenly contracted. This wasn't retreating. It was a coiling dragon. A dragon could be great or small. It could stretch out or coil up. When a dragon coiled, it meant it was ready to strike. The wolf slave had originally been a person of status in Wolfstore country. Because he had been captured by Yue Qinghong on the battlefield, and by the rules of Wolfstore country, he became her wolf slave and served her. Yet his ability was not much weaker than Yue Qinghong's. Furthermore, he had remained on the battlefield for a long time, surviving life and death struggles. His battle experience was exceedingly rich. The way Chinmu retreated gave him an extremely dangerous feeling, as though he had been targeted by a huge, fiendish, strange beast. His magic knives became even faster, but Chinmu had already stored his momentum. Suddenly, Chinmu threw a punch that shattered his limit. In an instant, dragon roars erupted long and loud. The 2 magic knives lost control and whizzed back toward the wolf slave. Along with the magic knives came Chin-Moo's vast and overbearing punch. His fist intent became a colossal, malevolent dragon, pouncing straight forward. The wolf slave gave a loud shout. His vital chi burst forth. Instantly, a power like the scorching bitterness of a blood-red sun over a barren desert exploded out. His shirt tore open. Wolf dragon markings appeared across his entire body, and he thrust both palms forward, unleashing all the vital chi he possessed into his palms. Bang! A huge tremor spread out. The wolf slave's body slid backward. With the two magic knives stabbed into his ribs, he was driven back 30 yards and crashed into a mountain rock. Only then did the momentum stop. "Ling-Er, there's no need to loot him. Give him some money to heal himself." Chin-Moo called back Hu Ling-Er, who was preparing to plunder the spoils of war, and shook his head. "He used weapons, so I struck more heavily. His injuries aren't light, and he'll need quite some money to heal himself." Hu Ling-Er pouted. "What a pity. Those two knives aren't bad." Chin-Moo shook his head and left. "Still not as good as mine. However, his power isn't bad, and his battle awareness is much stronger than that monk earlier." Yue Qinghong waited until Chin-Moo had gone far away before appearing and coming to the wolf slave's side. Blood dripped from the wolf slave's mouth, and because the two magic knives had pierced through both sides of his ribcage, he was nailed to the mountain and could not move. "Master! I estimated wrongly." The wolf slave looked ashamed. "I used 10 moves, but he only used 3. "Be careful." As he spoke, Yue Qinghong suddenly felt warmth behind her back. A body pressed close to hers, making her heart tremble slightly. Someone was pressed close behind her, back to back with her. She had been utterly unaware of when this person arrived. At that moment, Chin-Moo's voice sounded by her ear, the two of them extremely close. "Senior sister, he is your slave. Did you order your slave to attack me because you think I don't dare kill anyone in Imperial College?" Cold sweat burst forth across Yue Qinghong's forehead. Her feet tapped rapidly as she tried to dart away, yet Chin-Moo's body remained stuck to her back, and a voice sounded beside her ear again. "Doesn't senior sister owe me an explanation?" Yue Qinghong's scalp went numb. She moved like a phantom at terrifying speed, executing footwork like cloud traces and sparrow shadows. Yet no matter how she moved, Chin-Moo still clung to her back like a shadow that could not be shaken. Cloud trace sparrow shadow was the finest body technique divine art she had learned. Even though she could not execute divine art here, she could still tread among clouds and skim low like a sparrow. Yet even such a powerful body technique divine art could not shake Chin-Moo off. Suddenly, Yue Qinghong felt the big boy's muscles behind her wriggle, as if snakes writhed beneath his skin. A chill ran down her spine. Even her exquisite skin rose in tiny goosebumps from fear. Sure kill technique of the battle technique school. Chin-Moo began to shift his steps, and Yue Qinghong suppressed the terror in her heart and moved along with Chin-Moo. She knew the sure kill technique of the battle technique school had to be executed at close range. If she kept herself pressed against Chin-Moo's back and did not allow him to turn, it would be difficult for Chin-Moo to unleash his sure kill technique. Just now it had been Chin-Moo sticking close to her. Now it was she sticking close to Chin-Moo, following his footwork, not daring to leave him by even an inch. If she left him, her head and body would likely become separate parts. To be pressed close by an expert of the battle technique school was, in essence, an execution order. The two of them moved swiftly, backs pressed to backs, looking like a dancing butterfly flitting across the mountains of Imperial College. Many scholars on the mountains stopped to watch, exclaiming without end. Chin-Moo wore embroidered garments, while Yue Qinghong wore green, and they looked like the two halves of a butterfly's wings. Moreover, they were pressed tightly together, so it was easy for people to be lost in wild and fanciful thoughts. A scholar sneered, "A cheating couple?" giving off a rotting stench that makes people want to puke in broad daylight. Suddenly, boom! As Chin-Moo leaned back, Yue Qinghong was slammed into the pillar of Hall of Azure Yang. "Ling-Er." Let's go," Chin-Moo called Hu Ling-Er over. "Don't think about plundering her. If you want to plunder her, you'll have to pull her out from the pillar." "She isn't bad either. She's an expert to be able to keep up with me." Hu Ling-Er immediately hurried after him. Looking back with reluctance, she only saw Yue Qinghong smacking face first into the pillar of Hall of Azure Yang, struck there by Chin-Moo.